How's it going, everybody? It's Sam here, and welcome back to the Morbid Veil. Today we have a special build in store for you, but first, if you haven't seen our previous video, click the pop-up now to view it. In addition, if you're new to the channel, then we have a disclaimer for you. We are called the Morbid Veil for a very good reason, and that is because we take pride in creating horrifying and disturbing content and backstories. Skyrim is our primary source of content for the time being, so we have to throw in some extra horror to get that dark depravity that we're looking for. So, if you have problems with dark and disturbing content, then this video, and the channel overall, probably isn't for you. Now that that's out of the way, let's
Wait! You're forgetting something very important!
I am? Oh, I'm sorry, Jay, you're gonna have to remind me.
Some patriot you are! Happy 4th of July, everybody! And if you're not American, you should still celebrate. It's a great excuse to barbecue and drink. Ooh, and blow shit up with many colors.
Yep, that's right. So have fun, keep safe, and remember, don't drink and drive.
Well, where's the fun in that? Party pooper.
Now let's leap into our latest build, the mighty Sphinx of Skyrim. She was an innocent child, no more than 4 years old when the bandits came. The thing she was forced to watch shattered her spirit. She was put into a cramped little cage, hung up on the ceiling and forced to watch as her father and brother were tied and beaten, while her mother and older sister were ravaged without mercy. For 7 days this went on, until the bandits finally grew bored and decided to kill everyone. The leader of the bandits was called the Skinner, and they made sure to show the little cub why they were called that. The poor cub watched helplessly from the cage as her parents and siblings were skinned alive. When it was all over, one of the bandits asked what they should do with the little one. The Skinner just laughed and left the home. The bandit looked up to the cage and shrugged before leaving also. For a week, the cub sat in the cage, with no food or water, no rest, no crying, just sitting there in tormented silence. On the 8th day, a retired Imperial soldier stumbled upon the damaged home, and seeing the rotting corpses and the caged cub, he broke down in tears. He brought the cage down and opened it up, but the little cub didn't move a muscle, nor did she make any eye contact with her rescuer. The old soldier got to his feet and took the bodies of the Khajiit family and laid them to rest, praying to the divines that they would find peace. For the next few days he stayed at the home, cooking and giving the cub some fresh meat and water, but she wouldn't even look at it. Then one night the old soldier awoke and saw the cub staring at him with tears in her eyes. He sat up in the bed and opened his arms. She jumped in and began crying, clinging tightly to his old tunic. For the first time since the bandits left, she grieved the loss of her family. Over the next 15 years, the cub grew and traveled with the old Imperial soldier. He tried to train her how to defend herself and how to use her natural-born stealth abilities to stalk her enemies. She'd only ever stalked him for training and the occasional deer when he brought her hunting with him. Despite his best efforts, he could rarely get her to talk, but when she did, it would light up his face. One day, while they were hunting near the border of Skyrim, they were caught in an ambush between the Imperials and Stormcloaks. One particular Stormcloak, called Gunjar, saw the Imperial signet on the old man and did not hesitate to slay him. The girl fell silent. Once again she watched her family get killed, but before she could attack, she was knocked unconscious. She woke up days later, surrounded by imprisoned stormcloaks and Imperial soldiers on horses and carts. She knew what was going to happen, but she didn't care. After leaving the cart, one Imperial soldier asked her what her name was, but they wouldn't accept her silence. She thought for a moment, realizing that she had forgotten the name that her parents gave her. The old soldier had only ever called her Cub. Then she remembered a story of a mighty lioness of old who was called the Sphinx, and so she said that was her name. Though she was going to die, she decided she would die with dignity and with a new name, something she could feel proud of for her last few moments. However, the Divines had something else in mind. A massive dragon appeared and attacked Helgen, allowing Sphinx to escape. She followed the Imperial soldier named Hadvar and finds the body of her adopted father's murderer laying in the first room they came to. Though she was upset that she couldn't deliver the final blow herself, Sphinx was still glad that her best friend had been avenged. Eventually, Hadvar and Sphinx make it out of the burning town, just in time to see the dragon flying away. Now let's talk about gameplay. After discovering that she is the legendary Dragonborn, Sphinx decides that the best thing for her to do is fight and offer aid to those in need. She helps everyone in Whiterun and Riverwood first, from the children to the elderly, and everyone in between. She slays many dragons and joins the companions. Though she doesn't want to become a werewolf, she feels something pushing her towards the curse of her scene. When she first transformed, she was able to control her animal instincts, and instead of attacking, fled the city. She awoke later on, Aella waiting for her. Her fellow shield sister told her about the Silver Hand, but they didn't interest her in the slightest, until Aella mentioned that name. Krev the Skinner.
Their leader is a tricky one. They call him the Skinner. I don't think I need to tell you why.
Her memories came flooding back, and Sphinx was filled with an overwhelming rage. She slaughtered every bandit herself, and as for the Skinner, she made sure that they suffered for what they had done. Sphinx had finally avenged her family, her mother and father, her sister and brother, but something didn't feel right. There was some sort of dark pain eating away at Sphinx, but she didn't know what it was. She eventually freed herself from the curse of her scene, and finally, the dark weight was lifted. She became the harbinger of the companions and continued to help many in Skyrim. From there, she continued to hunt down bandits, monsters, and dragons alike, doing her best to protect the land. Her fame became renowned throughout all of Skyrim, and soon many sent letters to her asking for her aid. But some were suspicious in nature, and she treaded carefully around them. But many were honest and genuine pleas for assistance, and she helped a great many people. Over time, she became much more talkative, and slowly began to develop her speaking skills. As her skills and knowledge progressed, Sphinx became much more diplomatic. However, she was still aware of the cruelty of the world, and was always prepared for a fight. She ran across many Daedric princes through her travels, and only ever helped one, Meridia, who had contacted Sphinx through a magic orb requesting her help in cleansing her temple from the filthy undead. Sphinx succeeded in destroying the necromancer and his minions, and as a reward was gifted the divine sword, Dawnbreaker. Later on, Sphinx realized that much of her aid was doing very little, while the war continued to ravage people's lives. She joined the Imperial Army, and through her skills in combat quickly became the new Imperial champion of Skyrim. After months of hard battle, the Stormcloaks were finally defeated. The Empire had won. But all was not at peace. Sphinx eventually found a way to slay the mighty Alduin, and abandoned the Blades after they ordered her to kill Parthenax. She saw why they wanted him to die, but she also saw his heart, and how he'd been trying so hard to atone for his past sins. Not long afterwards, Sphinx decided to finally see what the strange cultists wanted with her. She traveled to Solstheim, and there she was bombarded by bandits, cultists, and abominations from another world. Eventually, though, she slew the vile Miraak, and rebuked the Daedric prince, Hermaeus Mora, who desired to claim her as his new champion. As she tried to settle down and live a relaxing life in Whiterun, Sphinx was drawn to the rumors of vampires attacking innocent people. She sought out the Dawnguard and helped them in defeating the vampire scourge of the Volkihar clan. She alone killed every single vampire within the castle walls, except for one, Serana, who had become a good friend to Sphinx before the attack on the castle. Now enough of the questline details, and let's get to the action you've all been waiting for. Sphinx uses her agility to sneak up on enemies and dispatch them silently. However, when it comes to close combat, she uses her brute strength to defeat her enemies. She's quite clever and usually casts a rune on the ground before her enemies get too close. She then casts an elemental cloak around herself and begins to bombard enemies with powerful attacks using Dawnbreaker. At a distance and in the shadows, Sphinx uses the Dwarven Black Bow of Fate to dispatch her enemies, which, as many of you know, archery and stealth make a great combination. As stated already, Sphinx uses the Dwarven Black Bow of Fate as well as Dawnbreaker to defeat her enemies. So let's talk about how she defends herself with armor. Sphinx wears a set of remnant armor, which she crafted after learning the secrets from a Redguard warrior. Each piece has its own unique enchantments to help keep her safe during combat. In addition, she wears the Ethereal Crown, and with it harness the power of the Atronach Stone and the Lord's Stone combined, providing even more protection against physical and magical attacks. She also wears an Amulet of Talos like the old Imperial soldier used to, despite the white gold Concordat. It helps soothe her voice, allowing more frequent use of her dragon shouts. She also wears a magic ring she obtained from a rather strange fishing trip. The Warlock's ring creates a ward in front of the wearer when blocking, and increases healing and some movement speed. Now let's talk about the perks and stats of Sphinx. Sphinx uses stealth quite frequently, but that doesn't mean she's unable to fight in close combat. She has mastered the art of swordplay and has learned many useful blocking techniques as well. Though she isn't very skilled with magic, Sphinx has mastered the art of enchanting and uses her knowledge to better protect herself in combat. She knows some smithing skills, which she uses to improve her weapons and armor wherever possible, and can shoot the nuts off of a bandit at 100 yards, in case you were wondering about how well she is with a bow. Now let's talk about the powers, or rather tactics, that Sphinx utilizes. Cat and Mouse is the tactic used by Sphinx to lure her primary target away from their allies. She uses the Throw Voice Shout to lure an enemy away. Then once they're out of view from their allies, she slits their throats from behind. Lion's Charge is a full-blown barrage of devastating attacks. Sphinx slows time and bombards her enemies with brutal power attacks while being enveloped in a flame cloak. This allows her to defeat powerful enemies more quickly and without risking her own life. Cheetah's Flight is a tactic that takes lots of practice. Sphinx slows time, then unleashes a barrage of arrows at her enemies' heads. Before they have any time to react, the arrow is already piercing their skull. Two years after the events of the Civil War and the defeat of the Volkihar clan, Jarl Balgruuf summoned Sphinx to Dragon's Reach. There she was met by not only the Jarl, but High Queen Elisif, General Tullius, Isran, Serana, and many other allies she made throughout the years. General Tullius told her that there were many in Cyrodiil who had heard of her and her deeds in Skyrim, and that there was a call to reinstate the old tradition of the Dragon Emperor. Sphinx knew exactly what he was going to say and declined his offer. However, none of her friends would let it be that easy. Everyone spoke to her, and eventually they managed to convince Sphinx to head to Cyrodiil to become the new Empress of Tamriel. While Titus Mede II wasn't too pleased that his most loyal subjects worked to remove him from the throne, he wasn't prepared to stand against the Dragonborn and politely step down. Now Sphinx sits upon the Dragon Throne as Empress, with not only the hearts of her subjects dedicated to her, but the hearts of many of the Dova as well. She reforged the Blades into the loyal dragon riders they are today. Under the command of Parthenax, Odahviing, and Lydia as the Blade Grand Masters, they served the Dragon Empress, flying across the skies of Tamriel, protecting and serving its people. Though some Daedra did their best to destroy the newly established peace, they continued to fail, with Mehrunes Dagon having been slain by the Dragon Army just last week. All hail to the Dragon Empress. Long may she reign in glorious peace. We hope you enjoyed our latest Skyrim build, Sphinx, the Dragon Empress. We appreciate your support over the last several months, and we're pleased that you enjoy our content so much. We'd also like to thank you for being so patient with us the last couple weeks, for not getting the video uploaded on time like usual. If you haven't already, click that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified of our next video. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you all here next time on The Morbid Veil.